guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's Brittany here with another video to help you guys live a happy, healthy, awesome life in a wheelchair. And today it is a beautiful Saturday morning and I woke up to a comment on my channel from a woman telling me just how valuable my channel is and how great it is to be able to educate people without all the weirdness and awkwardness, and a touch of humor. And I just thought that was like an amazing way to wake up and be reminded that my channel and the content that I create is useful for people out there, and that is why I make my content, for people on the other side of the camera that are struggling exactly like I was when I was first paralyzed, or maybe not even first paralyzed. Some people are struggling far, far into their journey with paralysis. So today, I thought I would do a video on all of the things that I wish I could change, go back and change along the way with my journey as a wheelchair user. Number one is how long it took me to be independent. This one was massive for myself and my confidence. After my injury, I was only 13 and I just didn't believe that I could do any of the things that I needed to do to be independent, like use a catheter or do bowel routine or transfer or put clothes on, any of that stuff. And I did not do it. I let my mom go home with me and just totally take care of me. I was completely and 100% dependent on her. I could not get dressed without her. I could not get out of bed without her. I could not pee in the middle of the night without her. I had to leave school as a teenager to go home to go to the bathroom. I would wait 12 hours before cathing because I didn't want to leave my friends, and I just didn't have the confidence in myself that I should have had as a teenager. I still needed my mom's help to go to the bathroom, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with needing somebody's help to go to the bathroom, but if you know or you feel like you're capable of it and you aren't doing it, that's when your confidence is really dashed. And I think that's where my problem really was, is that I knew deep down I should have been able to do these things. I'm a paraplegic. I have full use of my arms and my hands, and these things were things that I should have been doing but wasn't. And so it really made me feel bad about myself and be ashamed that I couldn't do these things. So I really wish I had been harder on myself. I wish other people around me had been harder on me. I wish they had expected more of me and been more real with me about life. Because one of the things that I realize now is that nothing ever really gets easier with a spinal cord injury. You just get better. You get stronger and things feel easier, but they're not easier. It's the exact same task. I still have to transfer. Takes the same amount of energy. I'm just stronger and better at it. Using a catheter was so confusing at first because I didn't know how to do it and I didn't practice. So none of those things get easier. You just get better. And you can't get better unless you actually do it. You just have to like bite the bullet and be like, I am not accepting this from myself anymore. And if I think I'm capable of it, I better damn well try and see if I am. And that's what I did eventually. And I am so much more capable than I ever believed possible when I was first paralyzed. So I wish I could go back and tell myself that I am so much more capable than I give myself credit for. So that is number one. Very long-winded way to say I wish I had not taken so long to become independent. Number two, I wish I could change how terrified I was to be honest about my bowel and bladder. I was a teenager when I was paralyzed and I didn't want to talk about my bowel and bladder to anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody I used a catheter. I didn't want to tell anybody that I no longer had bowel and bladder control and that I had to manage it in certain ways. And there's ways to have those conversations that make it interesting for people. Like, hey, guess what? Did you know that when you're paralyzed, you can't feel when you have to pee? And oh, by the way, this is how I now have to manage my bladder so that I don't pee on the floor all the time. Which I did in the middle of class once in grade 9. It was terrible. And I will do a separate video all about that story. But I just was like terrified that anybody would find that stuff out. And even into my adulthood, I didn't want to tell anybody about how I had to go to the bathroom. And it just made me feel more weird about it. It made me feel less okay with it myself because I wasn't willing to share it with anybody else and find out what their opinions were or if they even cared. And when I met my husband, I knew that I didn't want to live that way in my relationship with him. So I just was like, this is how I have to do everything. And you know what happened? Nothing. He didn't care. It was like a mild, like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And then we moved on from there. And yeah, sometimes I still pee my pants. Sometimes I still have to do things because of my bowel and bladder that change the way our lives have to run. But really, it's like a minor inconvenience unless you make it a big deal. If I were grumpy about how I had to go to the bathroom every single day of my life, I'm sure that it would make everybody around me a little less happy to be around me. But because it's just neutral to me, I just do what I have to do. It's not that big a deal. And I recently just met a new friend and told him all of the things I have to do in order to go to the bathroom. And we literally joke about it all the time. He even says that he'll clean up my pee if he has to and all that stuff. So just really, I wish I had been more, I wish I'd been less afraid to tell people about how I have to go to the bathroom because it's been so much more liberating to just be honest with people. So that's number 2. I wish I could go back and change how terrified I was to be honest about my bowel and bladder. Number 3 is thinking that stretching doesn't matter. So I wish when I was first paralyzed, I had prioritized stretching my legs because I didn't think it was important. It wasn't worth my time. And my legs I had so much spasticity. My range of motion went down. I could barely go anywhere without my legs freaking out because I just didn't stretch the muscles. And when you're paralyzed, your muscles are your spinal cord is literally looking for stimulation because it's so used to walking and moving, it doesn't have that stimulation. So it just creates that stimulation and muscle spasticity. And unless you're willing to sit and stretch a little bit so that your muscles get that stimulation, they're gonna freak out. So I wish I had paid more attention to that. It took me 2 whole years, to get my feet to bend at a 90-degree angle when I was stretching them. Like it took me so long to get my range of motion back instead of just maintaining it in the first place. So I wish I could go back and change the fact that I thought stretching didn't matter. So that's number 3. Number 4 is I wish I could change being lazy with my posture when I was first paralyzed. Part of this is because I had a really crappy wheelchair that was measured poorly for me, and it was too big for me, so it was basically like a recliner on wheels. So part of my posture issues were because of a bad wheelchair being ordered for me, which is why I have videos. I will link to them if you are ordering a new wheelchair, if you're newly paralyzed. You need to get a properly fitted wheelchair, so I will link to all of my resources for those videos because I can't stress enough how important it is to be in a good wheelchair to maintain good posture. But I just was kind of slouchy and I didn't want to use my muscles, the few muscles that I had left in my abdomen. I didn't want to spend the time to work them because it was tiring. And I would rather just use my armrest and put my elbows down and all these things. And what ended up happening was my core got weaker, my neck got weaker, my shoulders took a lot of the brunt of things, and it just wrecked basically like the anatomy of how you're supposed to support yourself. And it took me, I still don't have perfect posture, but it took me a long time to realize that I have to actually engage what muscles I still have left and pay attention not to always be overcompensating with putting my elbows down. And it's a work in progress. I still find myself just leaning on my elbows all the time. But I wish when I was first paralyzed that somebody had told me that maintaining my posture is going to do a lot for me in terms of my core strength, in terms of like my comfort level, pain management, all that stuff. Because when you throw your anatomy out of whack, your muscles don't work properly. Some of them get overworked, some of them are underworked, and it just is never a good thing. So that is number 4. That's number 4. I'm probably going to lose count, so don't get mad at me if I have no idea where the hell I am halfway in between. But that is number 4, being lazy with my posture. I wish I could go back and change that. Number 5 is thinking that a standing frame is a waste of time. And this is partly, again, the fault of like the medical professionals that I had in the beginning of my journey. My physiatrist, who is like a spinal cord injury rehab doctor, he told me, don't waste your time on a standing frame, because at the time they said the only benefit was basically weight bearing to maintain bone mass. And he just said the only way that you're going to maintain your bone mass is if you're standing in a standing frame like 12 hours a day, because your bones don't generally want to maintain the right amount of bone density unless you're standing and weight bearing for significant periods of time. So he was just like, you're never going to stand for long enough for it to be worth it. It's just not something that you should waste your time on or your money. And now, as somebody that's been in a wheelchair for many years and has done a lot more research on my own and has known many people that use standing frames, there are so many more benefits to a standing frame than just maintaining bone density. There's improving your circulation. There's your digestion. When you stand up, gravity allows all of the stuff, stretches out your intestines, allows it to move easier. It's just a really good way to maintain your range of motion and your hips, like all of these things that he didn't even mention about what the benefits of a standing frame could be, and basically told me never to waste my time. And I believed him, so I didn't stand in a standing frame. I still don't have a standing frame because, for one, they're expensive, and I've never made it a priority. But I wish I could go back and have gotten a standing frame at the beginning of my injury and gotten used to standing in it, so that I could have just maintained the range of motion in my legs and all of the other benefits that come with standing upright. So yeah, that is number 5. Number 6 is not getting into FES. I wish I could go back and change that. I still don't use FES. And if you guys are wondering what FES is, it's functional electrical stimulation. And it is where they hook electrodes up to the large muscles on your paralyzed limbs, and then it's like a bike or some other thing that allows you to work your muscles, even though they're paralyzed. And this one, again, I blame my physiatrist, because he was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, your muscles are going to atrophy anyway. But if you can maintain as much muscle mass as possible below your level of injury, that is a way to improve or maintain your metabolic rate. That burns more calories. That means you can eat more. That allows you to not gain weight and fat mass. Like, there's just so many things to having another way to actually work those muscles that are paralyzed, not passively, but actively. Like, this actually actively stimulates the muscles and makes them work, so that they're maintaining the muscle mass, possibly even building muscle mass, and at least maintaining the metabolic tissue that is below your level of injury, that's going to allow you to avoid gaining the weight that's going to then increase your secondary risks for like heart disease and all of these other things that come with a spinal cord injury. So I really wish that I had gotten into that. I wish I had an FES bike that I could use at home. The place where they have FES is in the city that's close to me, but it would be like a 45-minute drive each way in order to access it. So it's just like where my life is right now. I'm too busy to go in and do that, and I have to save up for, the really expensive things, because everything is super expensive when it's a medical device. So I wish I'd gotten into that at the beginning, and not had anybody tell me that those things weren't worth it, because standing frame and FES could potentially have done a lot of things for me maintaining muscle mass and bone density and range of motion in my legs. And I think that would have done a lot for reducing pain and all kinds of stuff. So that is number 5. Nope, that's number 6. See, I'm already getting lost. Okay, number 7, thing that I could go back and change is not learning how to swim when I was first paralyzed. I was in the hospital and I got in the water a few times, but I didn't actually learn how to navigate my body and learn what my body felt like in the water without my legs. And I was just terrified of swimming after I went home and never did it. And I was from a really small town, so we didn't really have a pool that I could have gone to that was close. But I really wish I'd learned in the hospital. And when I moved to the larger city to go to university, I wish I had taken lessons then, because I'm just not that confident in the water. And even though I did learn to swim as an adult when my kids were little, and I'm so much more confident in the water, I still don't have the confidence to just fully immerse my face in the water and swim like a front crawl. And I don't think that's like, it's not the safest thing. I'm kind of afraid to be in boats and stuff like that. I do know how to float, so I'm pretty confident that like if I'm ever in the water, I could just lay on my back and I'll float for days. But I wish I had learned how to swim when I was in the hospital or shortly after my injury, so that I just felt comfortable in the water. So that is number 7. Number 8 is I wish I could go back and change that I worried so much about what my legs looked like in shorts and dresses and things like that, because I wouldn't wear any clothes that showed how skinny my legs were. I wouldn't wear tight pants. I wouldn't wear dresses. I wouldn't wear shorts. And in the summertime, sometimes I was like sweltering in like the certain pants that I was allowed to wear so that my legs didn't look too skinny. And it was ridiculous. I cared way too much about what other people thought. And here's a newsflash, people. If you're watching this and you are paralyzed and you think anybody is out there looking at what your legs look like in your wheelchair, they're not. Nobody gives a shit about what your legs look like. There's like the odd person out there that like notices how skinny your legs are, but like never mind those people. And most people are more consumed with themselves than they are other people. They're literally not thinking about you at all. So wear the shorts. Don't sweat your balls off. Like for real, don't sweat so much. And just wear the things you want to wear. Be comfortable, be happy. Learn to be happy in your own skin, and don't worry about what other people think. Like I've had like 2 people talk about how skinny my legs are, and they were both children. And yeah, maybe adults are thinking it, but they don't say it. But who cares? I think stupid things about people all the time and don't say it. And then I forget all about that person, you know, once that thought is gone and once they're out of my sight line. So just don't worry about that stuff. I wish I could go back and change how long I worried about that. Literally like 10 years or something. I never wore shorts. It was ridiculous. Okay. That was number 8. Yep, that was number 8. Okay, number 9 is the thing that I wish I could go back and change is putting all of my faith in doctors to know what's best for my health. I was paralyzed, just paralyzed. I was a kid, obviously, and even like into my early adulthood, I thought doctors were the ones that I had to trust to tell me how to stay healthy with a spinal cord injury. But that is just bull. It's so bull. Like there is no doctor out there that knows more than you do about your own body. You see them for like 15 minutes in their doctor's office. And even though they might have like a big long chart full of things that they can look back on and all of that stuff, they're still not going to know your body better than you are. They might know that this antibiotic works for this bacteria that you have a UTI from or whatever, but they don't know the things that are irritating your bladder or making you bloated or any of that stuff. They just don't know how your body works. They're all generalists, and even though they have, some expertise in like certain areas, like spinal cord injury doctors know spinal cord injury and all of that stuff, they're still never going to know your own body. So you have to take everything that they say with a grain of salt. You have to be willing to put in the work to maintain your own health, because we only get this one life, and if we don't spend the time to figure out the things that are going to make us healthy inside and out, mindset, body, all of that stuff, then we're selling ourselves short, and we can't rely on anybody else to fix us. When I had to fix my UTIs, I had to do it. Was it annoying? Yeah, it really was. But I had to put in the work if I wanted to have confidence that my bladder wasn't always going to be a huge issue. When I wanted to fix my constipation, I had to put in the work. I had to figure out what to eat and what to drink and all of that stuff. And you have to too. No doctor is ever going to know you better, and they will 100% just tell you that UTIs, chronic UTIs, constipation, bowel issues, those are just part of having spinal cord injury. And I'm here to tell you that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. You might always have issues with those things, but they're not the ones that can tell you that. If you end up having those issues and you've tried everything, well then you do, and you have to find a way to live with it. but they don't know whether you're going to have those issues. They just know what they see, and mostly what they see is people that are allowing doctors to tell them what to do, and it's not working very well. Trust me, when I listened to doctors, none of that stuff worked very well. It just got worse. So I had to go find more, I had to do more research and go back to some basics and find alternative healthcare practitioners and read some books and read blogs and forums and all of that stuff. So you guys need to do that too. You have to take your power back. So I wish I could go back and change that. And then the last one is I wish I could change not having gotten into or tried sports or any kinds of recreational activities. I literally did not try any inclusive sports activities or recreational activities until like 3 years ago. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I didn't learn how to ride a hand cycle. Maybe it was a little more than, maybe like 5 years ago. But I didn't ever try hand cycling. I didn't try anything when I was in the hospital or even after a couple years after my injury. I wish I'd done all that stuff. Like, I wish I had tried hand cycling. I wish I'd tried skiing. I wish I'd tried all these things when I was younger. Like, when I was a teenager and I like actually could have been strong enough to do all of that stuff. I'm strong enough to do all that stuff now, but it would have been fun to be able to do that stuff and be able to participate with my friends, go for bike rides, things like that, and feel like I actually belonged, because that is why I do it now. I try every possible thing that I can do, or that's out there to try, because I don't know what I'm gonna like. I don't know what I'm capable of, and it makes me feel like I belong. I like to sit ski because it gets me out of my wheelchair in the wintertime, and I can go places with my friends and family on the snow. And if I had never tried sit skiing, cross-country sit skiing, I wouldn't know whether that was something that I liked, and I actually love it. Just being able to be in a hand cycle, all of those things that, you know, I was too afraid to try because I was afraid to transfer. Like, that's what I worried about. Instead of going, the freedom it's going to give me, I worried about the transfer down to the hand cycle. And I let that stop me from trying hand cycling. Well, I can't transfer. I just know I can't. And then I figured it out. I eventually figured it out. But I had to try it first in order to know whether that transfer was going to be more difficult or too difficult. Whatever. I could have probably figured out a way to get down onto the hand cycle even if I couldn't transfer. I have friends that are not capable of transferring, and that doesn't stop them from being active and trying things. So I wish I could go back and change that, because I think it would have given me a lot more years of things that I could have experienced with the able-bodied people in my life, and that those memories are priceless, right? That's what we want, is we want to experience life to the full extent and make memories with the people we love and not feel left out all the time. And sports and recreation is a way to feel like you belong still. It might look different. It might totally look different the way you have to do something now, but you can still do it and you can still feel like you belong. And that goes a long way for improving your confidence and making you feel like your life is still valuable and, you know, fulfilling. So I wish I could go back and change that one, but I'm changing them now. I'm going and trying to do all the right things now. Okay, so that was just my real talk to you guys, to anybody that's out there paralyzed. If you're newly paralyzed, if you have been in a wheelchair for a long time, you're still struggling with some of these things, that is my real talk to you about the things that I wish I could go back and change, the things that I regret not having focused on or not having done, in hopes that it changes something for you. I hope that you take these 10 things and realize that you are capable. These things do matter, or at the very least, make up your own mind about stuff and not just, you know, sell yourself short for as many years as I did, because man, I wish I could go back and change my teenage years. I wish I could go to the bathroom by myself, and I had gone to more parties and had made more friends, and I wish I had just done so many things differently. But all I can do now is try and help somebody else in my situation and save them the trouble that I went through, and I hope that's what I'm doing for you guys. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment if you are in a wheelchair and have been in a wheelchair for a long time. If any of these things resonate with you, what you would go back and change if you could go back to yourself when you were first paralyzed, and either give yourself a piece of advice or, you know, kick yourself in the butt. What would you want to tell yourself to change or to do differently? And if you are newly paralyzed, please leave a comment about any of these things that you're struggling with, because I would be happy to support you or give you my advice in any of these areas. Okay, it is such a nice day out. I'm gonna go and edit this video, waiting for my husband to get home because he went to our acreage this weekend to do some stuff to get it ready for me, and he's gonna be home in a little bit, so I'm gonna hang out with him for the rest of the day. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you back here on another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Mwah!